In my previous video, I started my build of a 1/10 scale model of the TARDIS, and this will be part 2 of the build. I have finished the base and now I'll start on the sides. When cutting out the pieces for the sides, I cut enough pieces for all 4 sides, but this video will only go over 3 of the sides. I will have a separate video where I'll cover making the 4th side with the doors. I use the same method for cutting most of the wood in each of these videos. You can see the process in the step 1 video, so I won't go into detail on that process here. The top of each side is 2 pieces. One is 5 inches long and 7/8 inches tall. The other is 4.5 inches long and also 7/8 inches tall. Let's cut out 4 of each. This middle piece is 8¼ inches long and 7/8 inches wide. We will need 4 of these also. The side pieces are 8¼ inches long and 5/16 inches wide. This time cut 8 of them, 2 for each side. Then there are these horizontal pieces that are 1.5 inches long and 5/16 inches tall, 10 for each side, so we will need 40 total. All of these pieces will get glued to panels that are 9 3/16 inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. 4 of these panels are needed for the entire project. Starting on the first panel, I need to make sure the middle piece is centered. I mark a line down the center of the panel and the center of the middle piece. I also extend this line down the ends of each piece too. This makes it easier for me to line things up as I'm gluing them together. Now I can glue these pieces together and clamp them down for the glue to set. I take care to get them aligned correctly. I didn't show it here, but after the clamps were in place and before the glue dried completely, I moved the clamps around a bit as I cleaned away the excess glue. This can be easily done with a damp cloth, just as long as the glue isn't dried yet. Next, I start gluing on the 10 horizontal pieces. I start with the 2 bottom pieces, clamping them as they're placed. Next, I glue on the 2 top pieces. Now I need to measure halfway between the top pieces and the bottom pieces. This way I know where to glue the middle pieces. Before clamping these pieces down, I place the other 4 pieces just because it's easier to measure their places without clamps in the way. Now, before the glue dries, I'm going to attach the 2 side pieces. I did this before the glue dried because some of the horizontal pieces were slightly the wrong size. I clamp the 2 sides down and remove the short pieces. After cleaning up the glue that was left behind, I replace them and now I can clamp all the pieces in place. Once all of that dries, I can remove the clamps and attach the top of the sides. I've already glued the 2 pieces together, so now I measure and mark the middle. I use that mark and the previous mark that I made on the large panel to align the parts and glue them together. When clamping these together, you want the tops to be all flush, and there will be a slight gap below that top piece and the pieces that were previously glued. I have 3 of these made, but I need to add one more piece to the very center. This piece is 8¼ inches long and 5/16 inches wide, and it will be glued to the center of the middle piece. Clamping this piece down was a little bit tricky. Getting the ends was easy, but my clamps couldn't properly reach the middle. My solution was to use other pieces as braces and put my clamps on those. Just don't glue these extra pieces down. They'll be removed after the glue dries. Once the glue does dry, I need to fit the pillars to the side panels. I want the back of the side panel to be even with the back corner of the pillar, and I need to make a notch in the pillars to allow me to do this. I line up one pillar to the top piece so that I can mark the pillar where I need to trim it away on the front. To mark the side of the pillar, I flip the panel upside down and line it up to the back. Then I can mark the side of the pillar. I finish marking the piece that I need to cut away, then I cut that piece out. Each pillar needs to be trimmed away on two sides. As I do this trimming, I test fit the pieces together to make sure everything is fitting correctly, making adjustments as necessary. I do this with all 4 pillars and the 3 sides. 2 of the pillars I glued to the back side, and the 2 pillars that I'm going to attach to the doors I left unglued. The left and right sides are not glued to any pillars. And that's it for this video. Stay tuned for my next video where I will be making the doors.